Tapu Koko, paired up with Hau, who has an outfit just like his granddad. Is he good? Is he bad? Or is he somewhere in between? This video will discuss that. So with that said, strap on your seatbelts, sit tight, let's begin our discussion. Here we go. Yo, this is Saul, also known as SPL Gum, also known as Spatial Gum, also known as Grunt, your artist Team Skull Grunt, and this is Pokemon Masters EX, and in this video, we discuss the in-depth kit of Sygna Hau and Tapu Koko. But before we begin, don't forget to hit the thumbs up right now, as well as comment down below if you are scouting for Sygna Hau or not. Maybe 1 copy, maybe 2 copies, 3 copies. This is a Poke Fair, and new Poke Fairs now have 4 out of 5 grids and 5 out of 5 grids. And if you are scouting 5 copies, let me know definitely in the comment section. I want to know who you are. But you know, if you are just interested in getting 1 copy, you can check out my 1 out of 5 or none out of 5 video where I discuss each one of these sync pairs in brief. And if you are interested in knowing more about everyone, well, I haven't finished this video yet, but it's gonna come out soon. So wait for my May 2023 sync pairs who to scout for video where I discuss each one in detail. But this one will focus mostly on the good side, bad side, and maybe the ugly side of Sygna Hau. And should you scout for him or not? So let's begin. Before thanking all the members of my channel, thank you everyone here for your support, as well as thank you big generous people. Thank you so much for giving these people gift memberships, and thank you to all receivers for being active in the channel. Hope to see you guys have fun with the emojis and everything else. So with that said, let's begin our discussion. He is the first out of all these sync pairs, and right off the bat, first, you know, we're just recovering right now from, you know, some people scouted for Sygna Luzamine. So if you got shafted with Sygna Luzamine, maybe you don't have enough gems for Sygna Hau. If you did summon for Bruno or maybe Lorelei or maybe the special costume units, which are ending on May 2, by the way, then maybe you still do not have enough gems for Sygna Hau, but maybe you've been saving up. Maybe you just want all the villain arc gems, or rather, maybe you just want all the villain arc sync pairs. He's the first out of the Alolan villain arc sync pairs. So 4 of these sync pairs: Hau, Mina, Azerola, and Lana. And in between the 2 of them are variety scouts, which are just sus, because DNA is throwing us variety scouts now and then, and now and then, and now and then. They are limited units. Every single sync pair here in this screen are limited units. That means when their banner ends on June 2 or May 21, they will be gone for a certain period of time. We do not have any variety scout that has rerun yet, but we do have villain arc sync pairs that have rerun. Normally, they rerun around between 3 to 12 months for Poke Fairs. So, you know, if you want to scout, prepare 36,600 gems just in case you get shafted. And go all the way to scout points, 36,600 gems. Meanwhile, Agatha and Lance, if you have paid gems, there's a 7,500 paid gem route which guarantees you 1 copy. But for Poke Fairs, just like Sygna Hau, Mina, Azerola, and Lana, well, no paid route, no gifts, no whatsoever, but you have a 2% chance of scouting for them, and a 10% chance of obtaining a random 5-star sync pair. So good luck if you are scouting. Let me know again in the comments section. Now, this is the amount of gems that you'll be getting, so you can check out this video. And now we look at their stats. So, over here, you can see that everyone's HP stat is very, very, very close. This update's lowest HP is Agatha with 606 HP. Highest is 616. And as you can see, all the Tapus have 611 HP stat, which is between each one. So, HP stat is okay, not too low, not too outstanding. It's just middle ground. And Sygna Hau is a special type tech sync pair. So, he has the highest special attack stat out of all these sync pairs in this group. And as you can see over here, just beside me, he has the highest speed stat out of everyone. 443 speed stat. Pretty fast. In terms of defense, only 188, but that is typical for tech sync pairs. And 183 special defense, also typical for tech sync pairs. And as you can see over here, all the supports, that's Sygna Mina, Agatha, Sygna Azarola, all have the same 288 special defense stat, which is interesting. But stats are not everything, and we now check the multipliers. And as you can see over there, that is a huge amount of multipliers. You have Dazzling Gleam, Super Duper Effective 5, Dazzling Gleam, Whimsical Power 9, which means that if there is a Fairy Zone, your Dazzling Gleam will almost double in damage if you use it. And again, Fairy Zone already powers up Dazzling Gleam, so this is an additional multiplier. Super Duper Effective 5, the opponent is weak to Fairy type moves. Fairy Zone powers up your Fairy type moves. Electric Terrain powers up your Electric type moves. If Hunter's Instinct, the lower the opponent's speed stat, the stronger your attack becomes. Power Induction 1 powers up both Dazzling Gleam and his attack, which is B, B Electro Web, if there is an Electric Terrain. Special moves up next, he can give this to himself by giving himself, by any of your sync pairs bringing in zones or weathers or terrains, he will give himself special moves up next. 5 out of 5, you got another special moves up next effect in some other way, which we will discuss later. And Team Power Induction 2, this is basically, if the field is electric terrain, everyone in your team will have their attacks. Is it special attack only or normal attacks? We'll see later. Powered up by around 20%. And Weird Vibes 5, if the field is Fairy Zone, your attacks get stronger by 50%. Lots of multipliers, you just have to decide if you want to focus on the Fairy type attack, Dazzling Gleam, or you want to focus on B Electro Web, the Electric type attack. You have to decide. Sync move multiplier, you have a built-in Electric Terrain multiplier, which if the field is Electric Terrain, stronger damage. Cakewalk, the lower the opponent's speed stat is, the stronger the damage. And since his sync move is an Electric type attack, if you have Electric Terrain, it will get powered up. Plus Whimsical Sync 5, if the field is, if the zone is Fairy Zone, you'll have your sync move increase by 50% stronger damage. As for the others, as you can see over here, I will not discuss them anymore, but Sygna Hau has a lot to do with lowering the opponent's speed, bringing in Electric Terrain, and bringing in Fairy Zone. Now, if you want to see the numbers, well, I translated this, and if you actually check his kit, he can give himself 2 Fairy Zones, and every single time he triggers a zone, he will get a special moves up next effect. You bring in Electric Terrain once at the start of the battle, so that means you have 3 stacks of special moves up next for Sygna Hau, equivalent to 5,456,808 for his B Electro Web. As for Sygna Azarola, he can give herself 6 stacks of physical moves up next effect. That's the 478,000. The weakest out of the bunch is Agatha's Wrap 139,060. And as you can see over here, all the sync pairs in this group, he has the strongest sync nuke also at 14,382,586. While this may seem impressive, guys, there are a lot of other electric types we have. And as you can see over here, his sync move is not exactly that impressive. Chris, Variety Chris, can give herself 28,406,505. Now, these are probably unfair computations because this one does not give himself super effective up next effect. So this is just Hau giving himself his buffs. And as you might know, he cannot give himself super effective up next effect. While the others all have their super effective up next, have electric terrain, have all the multipliers, have all the kits active. By the way, this number is all sync grid tiles active, which is completely impossible, but we'll get to that later. Meanwhile, fairy type attack is 2,143,746. Now, I want to point something out, and that his B Electro Web is just, well, easier to say this here, is just a one move gauge attack. It's just one move gauge, and you can spam this, and this hits everybody. And the one move gauge attack capable of dealing that amount of damage is impressive. This is not a 4 move gauge attack. This is not a 3 move gauge attack. This is just a 1 move gauge attack, and every single time you use this, you get to lower the opponent's speed stat, every single opponent's speed stat -2, and raise your team's speed stat +2 each sync pair. If you have Fairy Zone active, which you're required to use Fairy Zone and Electric Terrain together to get those numbers earlier, your damage will be multiplied by 2. So if you do not have Fairy Zone active, probably divide the 5 million something divided by 2, but if you have Fairy Zone active, that is the amount of damage that you can expect. He has a very strong, very strong 1 move gauge attack. So normally, what is a 1 move gauge attack? Thunder Shock, Thunder Shock, Thunder Shock. What does Thunder Shock do? Oh, absolutely very little damage. You have a body move with a 1 move gauge. This is infinite. And it's capable of so much damage, and it hits everyone, and that makes him super impressive. You have Dazzling Gleam, which also hits everyone. You have Fairy Wish. You can use this 2 times, 2 move gauges each time. There is no MP refresh for Fairy Wish. And then you have Maximum Power, which raises your special attack +4, which raises your critical hit rate +2, and reduces your sync move countdown -1 if you have Fairy Zone active, which means if you use Fairy Wish, if you have other sync pairs to bring in Fairy Zone. And his sync move increases in damage if the field is electric terrain. Again, this piles up with the original electric terrain multiplier with another built-in electric terrain multiplier. Passive skills: Electric Terrain Debut and Extension 5. Basically, he sets up Electric Terrain at the start of the battle. Immediately Electric Terrain. And the Electric Terrain will be extended around 50% longer in time, in duration, because of the extension. But take note that that is the only way you can bring in Electric Terrain, because he does not have Electric Terrain or for his moves. But he does have Power Plant, which we will discuss again later. He has Team Power Induction, which powers up everyone's attacks if the field is electric terrain. So not just special attacks, but also physical attacks for everyone if the field is electric terrain. This is something like a master passive skill for the new Tapu Sygna suits. And then you have Mele Ocean Breeze. We have discussed this earlier. Every single time you are able to activate a weather condition, terrain, or a zone, which again, you can bring in electric terrain once first, then 2 Fairy Zones, And maybe by bringing in Power Plant, another Electric Zone, you bring in another Mele Ocean Breeze, another one. If you have allies to bring in the conditions or the terrains, the zones, the weather as well, you also trigger Mele Ocean Breeze. And every single time this is triggered, you get a special moves up next effect, which powers up everyone's powers up everyone's special moves by 40% per stack. The maximum stack is 10 stacks of physical moves up next effect and or special moves up next effect. Alright, sync grid time. As I said, this is a Poke Fair, and Poke Fairs nowadays have 5 out of 5 sync grids, which is sad, but that's life. 1 out of 5, you got Dazzling Gleam, Move Gauge Refresh 3, Lithe, and Turbocharge quickly charges the move gauge if the field is electric terrain. 2 out of 5, you got the Dazzling Gleam, Super Duper Effective 5. If the opponent is weak to Fairy type attacks, Dazzling Gleam will get stronger. Dazzling Gleam, Whimsical Power 9. If the field is Fairy Zone, you get stronger, 90% stronger damage for Dazzling Gleam. Plus, your Dazzling Gleam will get powered up already because Fairy Zone powers up Fairy type attacks. Grounding Wire prevents you from flinching, Confuse Trap. Haze speed cannot be lowered. Maximum Power MP Refresh 2 so that you get to maximize your special attack stat. You get to maximize your critical hit rate. And you get to probably lower your sync move countdown -1 again if the field is, or if there is a Fairy Zone active. Power Induction 1, this is just Power Induction for himself, powers up his moves. If the field is electric terrain, this does not power up everyone's moves, unlike Team Power Induction 2 over there for his passive skills. Shock Recovery recovers his HP every single time he attacks when the field is electric terrain. Weird Vibes 5, if the field is psychic terrain. Wait a minute. I have to confirm this if this is actually here. Let me confirm this right now. Strange, but he does have Weird Vibes 5. If the field is psychic terrain, which you cannot bring in psychic terrain on your own, your moves will get powered up. Now remember, psychic terrain cannot stack with electric terrain. So it's either Power Induction or Team Power Induction 2 or Psychic Terrain. You have to decide this on your own. Meanwhile, zones and terrains can stack. Weather zones and terrains can stack. So you can have Fairy Zone active while having Electric Terrain active, while having it sunny or rainy or hailing or whatsoever. It's okay, but Electric Terrain and Psychic Terrain cannot stack on top of each other. Whimsical Acceleration 2, if the field is Fairy Zone, gets stronger, or speeds up the move gauge. And then at 3 out of 5, 3 copies, you get Cakewalk. The lower the opponent's speed stat is, the stronger your sync move. Hunter's Instinct, the lower the opponent's speed stat, the stronger your normal attacks are. That's B Thunderbolt, B Electro Web, and Dazzling Gleam. Mind Games 9, every single time you attack an opponent, which all his attacks are AoE, you get to lower the opponent's special defense stat -1. Morale Boost 9, when you use a trainer move, you get to raise your special attack stat +1. Power Plant is what I'm saying earlier. I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's not initial Power Plant or whatever anymore. Every single time you use a sync move using Sygna Hau, you bring in electric terrain. Every single time you use a sync move, you bring in electric terrain. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Plus, you know, the extension of the electric terrain for his passive skill means that you can have electric terrain last a very, very, very long time. And if it's gone, Power Plant, just sync using him, electric terrain will be back. Sharp Entry 1 starts yourself with +1 critical hit rate. Team Altered Field Dodge 9. When you activate a weather condition, terrain, zone, everyone will get evasiveness +1. So at the start of the battle, because of electric terrain debut, you'll have everyone raise their evasiveness stat +1. If you use 2 Fairy Zones, everyone's evasiveness stat will be +3. Whimsical Sync 5, if the field is Fairy Zone, you use your Sync move, it will get 50% stronger. And then for the Sync move, Thundering Deity Gigavolt Havoc gets powered up 2 tiles for that. So, I made a 3 out of 5 grid right now. And as you can see over here, these are the multipliers. I got all the multipliers for the Sync move because Sync move is at 3 out of 5 multipliers. Cakewalk, when the field, the more the opponent's speed stat is lower, the stronger your Sync move is. Whimsical Sync 5, if the field is Fairy Zone, if the zone is Fairy Zone, gets powered up. Power Plant, so that after you use your Sync move, Electric Terrain will be back. We got Sharp Entry 1 just so that you can max out your critical hit rate immediately after using your trainer move for the very first time. Plus Power Induction 1 again powers up your moves. We got 1 B Electro Web over here. And that is the Sync move multiplier. We can replace Power Plant with probably Mind Games 9 if you prefer to lower the opponent's special defense stat. And many other things, but that is for the Sync move multiplier. For the attack move multipliers, well, you have a choice. If you want to focus on your Dazzling Gleam, you can get Dazzling Gleam Whimsical Power 9. You can get a Dazzling Gleam Super Duper Effective 5 over here. And you can probably get Hunter's Instinct over here so that you focus on whatchamacallit, you focus on lowering the opponent's speed stat first using B Electro Web. Then you can focus on Dazzling Gleam, Dazzling Gleam. Power Induction 1 will power up your Dazzling Gleam even more. And that's that. That's that. You can choose another tile. Probably Dazzling Gleam Move Gauge Refresh is not enough anymore. So probably just power up your Dazzling Gleam and what else? Just select something and you're good. That's for Dazzling Gleam. And I did not choose Weird Vibes 5 because it's weird. You cannot bring in Psychic Terrain unless you want to pair him up with someone else with Psychic Terrain, but I'd rather skip the Weird Vibes 5 completely. If you want to make him tanker, you know, you can have him recover a lot of HP by getting Shock Recovery 1. Probably get Power Induction as well, get Power Plant, probably a Hunter's Instinct, power up your B Electro Web, and yeah, you can get some other tile, probably a Sync move power up over here, and something else. So those are some options, but as you can see over here, there are 2 more tiles over here and over here, which are the 5 out of 5 and 4 out of 5 tiles, which at 4 out of 5, you get Adrenaline 1, lowers your Sync move countdown when you use your Sync move for the very first time. This is very ordinary. I'm skipping this. Quick Tempo speeds up your move gauge the very first time at the start of the battle. Fairy Wish, Team Brain Game 9. After you use Fairy Wish, you get a special moves up next effect for all your allied Sync pairs for Fairy Wish. And I think the best thing is Unfortuitous 9, because all your moves are AoE, and every single time you attack an opponent, you get to lower either their attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, accuracy, or evasiveness, making him a pretty effective tech debuffer. So every single time you use B Electro Web, not only do you raise everyone's speed stat for your team, you lower the opponent's speed stats -2, plus you lower a random stat for the opponent, either attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, accuracy, or evasiveness. Now let's go back to the grid and let's see. Let's make a debuffer grid. Over here, let's get this. Let's get this. Probably I'm getting Adrenaline 1. I'm getting Mind Games 9 just to make him a little bit more debuffing. More of a debuffer. Cakewalk, not enough anymore, but probably I can replace Adrenaline 1 and get this instead. And I have 4 energy left. Can I replace Haste? Get this and get this. Alright. That is a combination of the buffer grid, as well as a Sync Nuke grid. You have Whimsical Sync 5, you have Cakewalk over here, you have 2 Sync Nuke tiles over here, you have Unfortuitous 9, you have Mind Games 9 to lower the opponent's special defense. And this is pretty much, I think, one of the best grids you can give him. But there are so many other tiles that you cannot get. Power Plant is such a nice tile, which is very sad because we do not have enough energy, and I want to emphasize this again. DNA, what we're asking is very, very simple. Give us more energy per move level we get for these sync pairs. Probably give us 25 additional energy per move level, or at least 10 energy for every move level, so that we can get Hunter's Instinct. That's 10. We can get, well, we cannot get this one. So 25. Give us 25 more energy at least. 5 energy per move level. 1 out of 5, you get... how much energy do you get at first? 120, was it? 60 energy. 1 out of 5, 65. 2 out of 5, 70. You know, 75, 80, 85. 85 energy will be good for 5 out of 5. So, DNA, can you give us 85 energy if you want us to scout 5 copies of this sync pair? With that said, that's that. This sync pair is very interesting. There are a lot of good things to say about Sygna Hau. First of all, he has a 1 move gauge AoE strong body move. 1 move gauge that does not have an MP limit. So you can use B Electro Web, B Electro Web, B Electro Web so long as electric terrain or any other weather condition or any other zones or any other terrains are active. B Electro Web is gonna be available. You also have a Fairy Zone setter, which, you know, Fairy Zone is only available for Sygna Utwali right now, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want zones, a Fairy Zone setter, having Hau in your team is very good. His Fairy type damage is not bad at all for Dazzling Gleam. But if you want Fairy Zone extension, well, there's Sygna Mina coming soon, 2 days after Sygna Hau. But that's about it. He is a very nice debuffer. He buffs up your entire team. But the most important and the most amazing thing about him, 1 move gauge B Electro Web, which is capable of super strong damage. But do you need electric types? Again, as I've shown you earlier, there are lots of better electric types, especially in terms of the sync nuking. In terms of sync nuking is not exactly the best. You need Fairy Zone, you need electric terrain, which is gonna be a hassle setting them up. There's no Fairy Zone extension here unless you have Sygna Mina. Can probably elongate, extend your electric terrain, but Fairy Zone, once it ends, it ends. There's no MP refresh for Fairy Zone over here. So, might be a challenge using Fairy Zone, but electric terrain is good. And you get to lower your opponent's speed stat pretty easily, so your multipliers are easy to trigger. But, is he worth it or not? If you have your electric types already, if you have Red, Thunderbolt Red in particular, if you have Ash, if you have New Year Volkner, if you have Classic Elessa, if you have N, 5 out of 5, powered up N, if you have Marnie, you probably don't need him. But if you want a more overpowered electric type team, Sygna Hau plus Thunderbolt Red plus Ash slash New Year Volkner, you get a super strong electric type team, which if you have Thunderbolt Red and Sygna Hau paired up, I'm not sure how long probably your electric terrain will last the entire battle without you even needing to set up electric terrain using Thunderbolt Red, because of electric zone, electric terrain extension for him, and Thunderbolt Red's Electric Zone or Electric Terrain Extension. I'm not sure if they stack, but Thunderbolt Red has Electric Terrain Extension. So, that's about it. He's a Pokefair. Again, 5 out of 5. That's the ugly side. We have 6 limited time sync pairs. Other than that, we have so many electric type sync pairs already. But if you want the very first Electric Zones, Electric Terrain Setter, plus Fairy Zone Setter, plus 1 move gauge super strong, well, not super strong, but strong electric type AoE attack, this is the sync pair you're looking for. So, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Faves over meta, again, is the most important thing. I guess these might become meta because of their double usefulness, but we'll have to see next month and the upcoming month sync pairs, whatever they bring us. Last month was all about rebuffs. This month is all about fake master passive skills and ocean breezes all throughout. And with that said, that is the end of my good and bad and maybe ugly, but I don't think there's an ugly side to Sygna Hau, except for this image. And let me know in the comment section if you are scouting for him. Have I convinced you that he's good, or maybe you still feel that he's bad? Let me know in the comment section. I think the good outweighs the bad here, just in case you're looking for more electric types. But if you have enough, then definitely you are free to skip all these months' units. But Fairy Zone Extension, or Electric Zone Extension 5 plus Fairy Wish, I think is good. In fact, Thunderbolt Red relies on the opponent's lowered speed stat for his Cakewalk. If I pair him up with Thunderbolt Red, I use him, B, Electro Web, I use Thunderbolt Red for the Sing move. Boom! Strong! Strong, strong, strong. And with that, that's the end of this video. Hit the thumbs up right now if you haven't. And again, let me know in the comment section if you're scouting for him. But I end this here with a shout out to all the gifters of my channel. Once again, thank you everyone for your kindness and generosity. And thank you to all the members of my channel who have been supporting me. Thank you, Shadow Phil, 1 year 2 years Master Ball tier member. Thank you, Alcin Roy, Luca, Jeremy for being 2-year Pokeball tier members. Sastri and Ewiz for 1 year Pokeball tier members. Marokman for Ultra Ball. Aurora Espion and Yuki for Great Ball. Shido for Premier Ball. Tatsuya Gold, Kundan, Pokefriendo, and Edward for Pokeball. Thank you guys so much. If you want to join them, you can click on the join button down below wherever you see it. But with that, thank you for watching. This is Sol, also known as Spielgum, also known as Spatial Gum, also known as Grunt, your artist Team Skull Grunt. I will see you in the next video.